Welcome back to Your Town. This segment is hosted by the Monterey County Business Council. I'm Mary Ann Leffel, president of the council. We've got a great lineup today, so join us every month as you hear about your community and stay involved. My next guest is Laurabeth Messimer. And Laurabeth and I met last summer, and I heard about her fabulous nonprofit. And I think to most of us, it's something that we see is needed, and I commend her for taking it forward. So, Laurabeth, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, you have GI Josie.
I do. We are GI Josie.
And GI Josie was started by you.
Yes.
And I think not anybody else.
My brother and myself. My brother's
Okay.
my COO, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's the brains of the operation.
You started it because you had a family member who had been affected.
Yes, that is correct. My daughter was on the receiving end of sexual harassment and abuse when she served in the military. She was in the Navy. And that's a really rough thing to hear from 8,000 miles away. And I started doing some research and found that there are a lot of women out there who suffer similar and worse events than my daughter did. And further research just told me that the VA doesn't have the facilities and the programs needed in order to help these women. And some of them are coming back and go and hide in the shadows, and some of them are not even going to VA to accept help or to find programs because they're so traumatized, and others can't deal and kill themselves. So there's a huge, huge gambit, and it's all abuse and it's all wrong. So we are out to provide the safety net, shall we say, for these women, so they can go and have a really, really safe environment so that they can heal and become strong again.
So, and I think, it's always hard if you're part of a population that gets thrown into a population that was all one way for many years.
Mm-hmm.
I think many industries have suffered through that.
Right.
And, the military's been a little slower to come to the table.
So diplomatic.
Than others. Well, keep in mind my husband is a 23-year retired Army lieutenant colonel, and my son's 24-year Navy
It's amazing.
chief petty officer. But I think it's important, that we realize that women do have some different needs, but also that just human rights are that you treat everybody fairly, and that there's no second-class citizen, not in industry.
How difficult is that? Yeah. But as we're seeing from the current news with the Marines and that sort of thing, there's a ton of bullying going on, and a lot of it stays under wraps because nobody wants to know about it. It's the military doesn't want it to get out. Certainly the offenders don't want it to get out, and the women who are on the receiving end who are abused don't want the retaliation that comes along with reporting it. And so there's a lot of factors going on into this equation, and it all equals to these women being abused over and over and over, victimized over and over and over. And it's just really wrong, and it really is time that somebody provide a safe place for them to go so that they can overcome their brokenness, because when they went into the military, they were strong. They had to be strong to do what they did. And the abuse breaks them down. And that happens in civilian life as well. It just breaks them down. But when they get out, they don't have the therapies and the treatment that they need in order to overcome that. And that's what we're trying to provide. We're working in tandem with the VA. We're certainly not excluding anything the VA is doing or trying to do, because they certainly are trying to do their best. But like you said, they're really slow to get to the plate. So we're trying to provide the other end of it with whole body type therapies, equine and canine and garden and ocean. In fact, we're going to be starting the ocean therapy as we're getting funding for the ranch. The ocean is not going anywhere, so we're going to start using that, and we're going to start that therapy.
So your idea is to have a physical place
Yes.
where women can come
Yes.
and heal.
Yes, exactly.
And you have a piece of property.
We don't have. We
have it
have
picked
properties
out?
targeted right now. We're still in phase one. We're still in the funding stage, so we're still looking for corporate donors and corporate sponsors, and we'll always take individual donations. We'll never turn those away. But we need about $2 million to break ground, and that's where we are right now. And it's not we that need it; it's these women that need it. Yeah.
So in this area, I know I talked to Dr. Connie Thomas at the Defense Language Institute, and she said that it's really important, she feels, that people have a place where they can go, they can feel safe, and they can have a discussion outside of the military. So as you begin this, do you have the ability to talk to people who even are on active duty, who may be experiencing discomfort at the workplace, so that they have a place to go and speak?
We are working really hard trying to connect with the people within the DLI and within the military community who can help us get this word out, because women aren't going to come forward and say, hey, I'm one of those. It's just a really hard thing, and there's a lot of rules and regulations about releasing this type of information. So we are working to make it known to these women, and we have opened it up. Initially, we were just going to do veterans, female veterans and their children. But we're now opening it up to active duty and homeless, because the research has shown that a lot of the women who are homeless, veteran homeless, have been sexually abused. And so it only makes sense that we incorporate those two ends of it to make to make it available to everyone.
You know, it's interesting. I'm involved with a couple other things that seems like bullying. I don't know if it's because we're more aware of it and of what the actions are of a bully, or if we're just more aware of how it impacts people who are being bullied. But it seems like I see more of it identified almost on a weekly basis. And for a long time, it was kind of something you just didn't even take a look at. Right. You might think, oh my God, that person's a bully. And you'd think it to yourself, but you didn't actually say it out loud and do something about it.
Exactly. Well, I think with all the social media that we have now, and all the ways that people can get the word out and that sort of thing, I think that is part of the equation. I don't think there's one thing to put your finger on to say that's it. And in addition to that, there's a lot more awareness of it within the schools, within all of society, I think, about bullying, especially these young gals who are bullied to the point of suicide, bullied in schools. You hear stories all the time about these young ladies who just can't take it anymore. And I hope that at some point there's people that can help them as well. But we're just focusing on the military because we feel really strongly that these women had what it took to put on a uniform and go fight for us. And they really have had our backs for a long time, along with the rest of the military. But someone has to have their back when they get home, and that's where I think we fail them. And I think it's really, really important that they know that they can come back and get what they need in order to heal, because they have every right to lead a productive life as anyone else. It's just that they've had all these road bumps along the way that they need to overcome now. And that's what we're doing.
Well, you know, it's interesting because in my years as a military spouse and mom, I think I've observed, because I was able to live all over the world and see a lot of different people. And I saw people come from all walks of life, all different economic and social background. You see people from all educational backgrounds. And then you take what was an all-male society, and on top of all of those other differences, then you add in the male-female piece of it. And I mean, I think there are still, we see it in comments all the time, there's still male resentment of a woman shouldn't be in combat, or a woman shouldn't have that job, or a woman should, you know, it goes on and on and on.
Right. And
I have never been a feminist. I always felt like I don't like to be like Woman of the Year. I liked being the Citizen of the Year. Because I felt like I stood my own against everybody that was being examined for the role, and I held it. So for me, but I'm not anybody that will ever be bullied. It's just not my nature.
Right, exactly. But you're so right that that the cultures, the different cultures, approach the male-female relationship differently. And and when you put them all together and you put them on, let's say aircraft carriers, while there's a lot of people on there and there's a lot of space to run, it's still finite, and a lot of times you can't get away from your abuser. And as you know, about a year and a half ago, all the job career fields were open to women, and so now we see women on submarines, and there's even a smaller space for them to hide. So and yet those cultures are still pervasive, and they still weave in and out through. There's the UCMJs, there's the justice system within the military, but that doesn't always. We don't know what happens with regard to that because the civilians are not allowed to see what goes on with that. So we don't know what kind of repercussions or consequences, I should say, happen to these abusers. But you're right with regards to the cultural, because that's part of who they are. And a lot of times women are second-class citizens in certain cultures. We see that all the time. So you're right. There's a lot of factors that go into the equation as to why this happens and continues to happen.
Yeah. I say I have two children, a male and a female, and the female was always very articulate and could put her brother down in about 2 sentences. And, he was younger and he wasn't as articulate, and so his way was always to lash back out, pull her hair or do something like that.
Yeah.
Until one day I said, okay, that's it. You pull his hair and teach him exactly what it feels like.
Right, exactly.
And you need to learn words, can fight with her. So, we have to level the playing field here.
Right,
but
exactly.
I think a lot of times we just kind of go, okay, those are my kids, and that's the way. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of it starts in the home, is I guess what I'm saying. It just starts the kind of behavior, the pattern of how one person dominates another one, or the other one fights back, and it just
I think
goes.
that's very true. And then when they get to, and then they take it with them to wherever they go within their lives, in this instance to the military, and because, as you previously said, it's been a male-dominated career path for so many years, it just kind of makes the perfect storm for this happening. And then on top of that, the prevalence of hiding it under the rug and not having it reported. Or there's one gal that I speak with who's part of one of our Josie faces, who was absolutely disbelieved that this had happened because the person that her abuser was an absolute stellar person, human being. In everyone else's eyes. And so this was his little alter ego, was going around and abusing women. So there's just all kinds of things where you just say, I'm not going to report it, So there was one gal who was demoted because she had reported it, and it happened to be her upper echelon, and they didn't believe her. So she was telling lies. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen when we'll say, it's not even worth saying. So. It's sad. It's really and truly sad, and it really has to stop. And I really hope with everything that's come out now with the military, with the online photos and that sort of thing, I really and truly hope that something finally happens. But even if it were to happen today, it's going to take years and years and years and years to fix what had already happened.
Yeah, it's our nature that the women stay home by the fire and the men go fight the wars.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. So. But it's just not that way anymore. It's absolutely not that way anymore. So we have women fighter pilots, and we have women, women in command positions. There's no reason for a woman to be thought of as less than an equal.
I watched the movie Hidden Figures.
So I haven't seen it.
It's fabulous. And, it talks about the women who were involved with NASA, and these were women of color. So these are African-American women. On top of being women, they also had the color. But the biggest put-down that they suffered, really, was from the other women initially, because they were women of color.
Yeah.
And, so
oh my gosh! So we've got
you have different layers. I
Yeah.
guess that's what I'm saying. You have different layers within the whole problem,
right?
And then you can cut and dice it a whole different ways. Like I'm from the north, you're from the south. You're of this color, I'm of this color.
Yeah.
It just kind of goes. I'm more educated than you. It goes on and on.
It really and truly does, and I think that kind of puts a finger on what's happening within the United States today, is how divided and how divisive we are, and it really has kind of given the okay that, okay, this is the way it is, and so this is the way it's going to continue. But we're trying to put a stop to that. We're trying to put a stop to these women that kill themselves as a result of the bullying. Because no woman should have to get to the point where they go, I've been so traumatized that I can't live another day. And they're traumatized as a result of serving us. So it's only right that we get out there and help them. That's just how I feel. Strong.
It's great. So you got a trademark.
Was
it this month or last month?
No, this month, last week.
So congratulations.
Finally. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, that was a struggle. But you know what? That's okay. These are all little teeny itty bitty battles, and my little brother, who is so knows the English language inside and out. He's just wonderful. He says, you're building an awesome house, and that's just one brick. And that's really the way it is. We're just putting this together brick by brick by brick. So, and that was a really important one.
That was good. Mm-hmm. So you've got a web page, you've got a Facebook page, you've got the social media piece set.
Twitter, yeah.
And how else do you get the word out? Do you travel around speaking at conferences, or are you working with the medical community?
We have done a lot of speaking at Rotary clubs. We've done a lot of speaking at networking events. We are speaking at the Women's Transitional Summit, which is coming up on the 24th. We are going to be speaking there. There are different people now that are reaching out and say, we want to hear what you have to say. And so, yes, and that's how we're getting the word out. It is infiltrating, because it's fun getting the feedback from people that we haven't met saying, hey, we've heard what you're doing and we would really like to help. So yeah, it's getting out there, and it's a lot of fun to finally get it revved up and get it going. And
do you get referrals back from medical professionals, or do people find you through social media? How do they find you?
Right now through social media, GIJosie.com is how they can find us online. Facebook is GI Josie TH, and that's for transitional housing. Okay. And Twitter is at GI Josie1. So those are the ways right now they can find us, and anyone is welcome to pick up the telephone and give me a call. Happy to talk to anybody about it. We're working on a private Facebook page, just so members only, I think is what they call it, so that so women can come in and share their stories without any judgment, and just get feedback and be able to communicate in a real safe manner. It's kind of a Josie Light right there online.
And then do you have medical professionals that are willing to connect with these women to help them out?
Mm-hmm. We have on our advisory board, we've got an RN. He was in the Army and the Navy and retired, and then went back to school, became an RN. He is our medical liaison. One of our board of directors was a lieutenant. She's a retired lieutenant colonel, and she ran the pediatric department up at Beale Air Force Base, and she's on our board. We have a family therapist that has just come on board. So we are finally reaching out, and finally these people are stepping up and going, yeah, I'm ready, I'll help you out. So,
Well, thank you so much, Laurabeth Messimer.
Thank you. Thank you for your
GI
time.
Josie. So don't go away. We'll be back. GIJosie.com. Take a look at it. And this is your town. We'll be back in a minute. Thank you so much.